welcome to another episode of Be Free, Be Fun, Be Fearless. I am Dr. Rana Al-Falaki, your host for today, and I am delighted to introduce my guest today, Stuart Bold, founder and CEO of Super Ager World. So you know what, that's all I'm going to say about him, and we're just going to dive in because the title says it all, right? What is a Super Ager and what is a Super Ager World? Stuart, welcome.
Thank you, Rana. Really pleased to be here. Thank you for the invite.
It's an absolute pleasure. I thought it was about time we started talking about this.
Definitely.
Yeah, 6 months ago, I was on social media saying, everybody, this is the best, most comprehensive health and wellness and well-being app I have ever seen, and a pleasure to be a part of. And people who started looking at it were in complete agreement. And so here we are 6 months on, with so much going on. What should we talk about? Where should we begin, I should say?
Well,
maybe let's start with you, Stuart. Who is Stuart Bold?
Okay, well, that's always a good starting point, isn't it? Yes, so people often ask me what the inspiration for Super Ager World was. So that I can wrap that into where we started and how we got to this point. So for me personally, I'm heading into close to 60s now, and I don't feel any different to what I did when I was 30 years old, and I hope that will be the case for the next 60 years at least. But the idea behind Super Ager World certainly isn't something that I woke up with one night. It's an organic thing that's grown over the years. It's very much about how I've progressed my own life over the years. So I was, until about 30 years ago, a lawyer working in London and New York and living a very dynamic lifestyle in Manhattan and London and loving every single minute of it. But I decided to leave it all behind. I turned down a partnership offer from the city firm, which shocked all of my friends and family. And I just decided to pursue what I call interests of the heart, or pursuits of the heart. I love things like skydiving and skiing and scuba diving and travel and all of these sorts of things. But I also had a really strong interest in other areas such as bioenergetic medicine, meditation, positive psychology, all of these sorts of things. So without any plan at all, and following part of your mantra of being free and being fearless, I packed it all in. The first thing I did was spent 6 months as a ski bum, training as a ski instructor and just skiing during the day and partying during the evening. And from there, I went to Mexico with the intention of traveling all the way down through Central America and South America, and just taking a few years of doing that. And as I was traveling through Mexico, one of my friends said, well, you really ought to check out this beach. This was 30 years ago, that no one really knows about, a really lovely secluded beach. So it was in the Yucatan. So I did that, ended up living on this beach for a year. I had my hammock strung between two palm trees next to the sea, slept under the stars every night, shared the beach with the giant sea turtles that came up. Every now and again, people would come through the beach, but most of the time, I had it to myself. I was doing a lot of diving in the underground caverns during the day, and diving's my underwater meditation anyway. But it became my first really powerful introduction into a meditative way of being and a meditative way of living. So very quickly, I lost complete track of what day it was. Soon I had no idea what the date was. And sometimes I even didn't really know what month it was. But it was a really lovely process of being able to just be for days and days on end and not think I should be doing something, and just sitting and learning to be and be still and all of the wonderful things that brings. So that was the start of my meditative and mindful way of being. during that year, I met a Mayan shaman who happened to just pass through the beach. And over a few days, he turned me onto some very different ways of seeing the world. And that was quite an experience and quite a journey in itself. So from there, I then spent a few years just traveling around the world. And at the time, continuing to develop my knowledge around meditation, my practical personal experience of it, mindfulness, and starting to build some experience around energy healing and bioenergetic medicine and those sorts of things. Came back to the UK and I set up my own dive school, and then I spent several years taking people around the world, teaching them to dive, which I absolutely love, and I love teaching people. That honed teaching skills, because when some people are not natural divers, but they want to do it anyway, there would be some people that at the start of an experience would be leaving their fingernail imprints bedded along the side of the concrete pool in stress and anxiety, but they were determined to do it. So I was starting to use my meditation teaching skills and energy healing work to start to give people a really strong foundation for a calm approach into something like them going from a swimming pool out to the Red Sea in Egypt and jumping off the back of a boat and diving in the Red Sea. So that was a really nice way of enhancing teaching skills and people skills. And I then developed into what is a Reiki master. So many of your listeners will be aware of Reiki. So I'm a Reiki teacher. I don't call myself a master. I don't consider myself a master of anything, let alone something as amazing as Reiki. But I've been teaching it for 25 years now. So when I would be out on a dive boat somewhere around the world, Sri Lanka, Cuba, Red Sea or something like that, with a bunch of 12 doctors and lawyers and bankers and business people in between diving, people would say to me, so what's all this other rubbish that you do? So I'd say, right, well, I can just show you if you want. And normally about 8 times out of 10, someone at the end of it, they'd be going, that was unexpected, or I don't know what to say about that, or that was weird, or that was strange. So I started to really build my work around energetic healing. And then I left the dive school behind because the draw was stronger and stronger to helping people with their health and well-being, physical, mental, and emotional, integrated health practices, developing all of my skills to be able to help people. So that then led actually to an invitation to work with one of Prince Charles's charities. So I worked with his Foundation for Integrated Health, where I actually managed the project to set up what's currently the regulator for complementary and natural healthcare practitioners. So that was an interesting experience, which then led to an invitation to be the first clinical practitioner of Reiki for the UK's leading cancer hospital. So I was the first clinical practitioner working for a year with cancer patients, delivering Reiki. That was interesting because, again, this was many years ago. So one of the first things I had to do was present to about 100 doctors and consultants. And it wasn't the most open-armed meeting in those days.
To be honest, I think it would have been.
Probably imagine.
Being a clinical consultant myself, yeah, I know the reception I often get amongst my peers in that setting. So that many years ago as well, yeah, I can totally imagine.
Oh, it was really interesting.
You sold it.
Oh, we did it. And within a month, these consultants were referring patients to me. Go and see the Reiki man. And that was so successful that the program that was funded by a charity got rolled out to other hospitals. So that in itself was excellent. So I then started doing a lot of work around coaching people around energy healing, around bioenergetic medicine. That then led to invitations to work as a visiting master, a fancy phrase, for many of the world's top destination spas. So I spent several years traveling around the world working in these amazing places with a lot of the world's super rich and super famous people who've also got their own challenges. And in between, I was working with, as well as the cancer patients, I worked with Manchester University to develop a program for cardiac rehab and diabetes patients. I worked with Edinburgh and Napier University to develop a program for armed forces veterans with PTSD. And that was so successful. We were invited to roll that out to the Canadians, to the Dutch, and to the New Zealand armed forces veterans with PTSD. I was working with schools, private schools and state schools. I was working with ages from 7 years upwards, working with all sorts of people with all sorts of challenges, working with top businesses like Unilever. So I rolled out the first mindfulness program for this huge company. So all of that was continually building my awareness of the strength of some of these things that I was helping people with, to not only empower their physical health, their mental health, their emotional health, but also because I took a very much an evidence-based approach to everything I was doing as much as possible. I became more and more aware of the evidence around longevity and healthy aging. And so the evidence around, for example, meditation is immense. There's such a vast array of evidence around a huge variety of benefits of meditation. It should be in everyone's life.
Yeah, I want to get back to that actually, because
a
lot of people think meditating means you just have to sit still and then, oh, I can't meditate, I haven't got time to meditate. And actually it needn't even be that. I mean, I'm a big advocate personally of meditation through movement anyhow. But
yeah,
if I just backtrack you a little bit, because I think a lot of people will be intrigued. You know, you've had this amazing career in law at the threshold of becoming partner. You know, most people would think you've made it. You were obviously then in your 30s and you said, actually, everybody was surprised, but I turned it down and I went off. But what gave you that feeling and that sense and that bravery, that fearlessness to determine to just go for what was presumably calling you?
Well, actually, there wasn't a specific calling, but there was this fearlessness, and that is part of my makeup. I love jumping in at the deep end. I love the unknown and love a challenge. So there was that component to my character anyway. But I had worked really hard. I mean, I was actually, I think, one of the very first to not only qualify as a solicitor in the UK, but to take the bar exams in New York and to be an attorney in New York as well. So I was in a very unique and strong position, and the offer of the partnership came after just 2 years of being qualified. So normally you wait 7 or 8 years for that. So it was a challenging decision in some ways, in terms of, wow, I've really worked hard and I've got this so much earlier than I expected. But the big driver was, okay, well, I've done that, so I could carry on and see how long until I get to be the senior partner. And I could see certainly the next 10, 20, 30 years lined out ahead of me. You certainly can get used to earning big money and you can get used to spending big money. So I could see myself potentially getting used to that, and the bigger house, the bigger cars, the bigger waistline probably as well that goes with it. But I've always had a real strong zest for life and a taste for life and an adventurous spirit. So one of my biggest drivers through life will always be never be sitting there in 100 years' time and asking myself, what if? I'd rather be saying, well, I tried that and it didn't work out, but at least I gave it a try. So for me, it was a case of, right, I've got so many other things in life that I'm interested in. And I know that I'm just at the beginning, and I've just turned 30, and it was like, there's so much more to life than sitting in an office in London or in New York. And so that was the main driver for me. There wasn't anything like specific. It was just like, life is big. I want to live a big life. done quite a lot with it already with regard to the path through law, but let's see what else is out there.
So it sounds like it was almost a sense of you probably carved out some certainty within uncertainty, in that, oh well, I've done this, so I know I can be successful, and you've got that safety belt anyway. I can always come back to it if it doesn't work out. So, but actually, maybe this isn't my full purpose. I've got so many other passions I want to explore. And I love what you said there, because I'm a huge advocate of this, of why wait till tomorrow? We so often this tradition of I'm going to work and work and work until I retire, and then I'm going to enjoy myself. And actually, it's the same philosophy we adopt for life. We really unconsciously, a lot of the time, with everything. I will be happy when. I will feel this way when. And so we start attaching our feelings to events, and it stops us. So this is going to bring us beautifully back into mindfulness and meditation. It stops us very much. It stops us being in the moment. It stops us being present. And of course, that's all the work I do with what I call, wantaholics, because we obsess, and I was one of them, with the future, with when I get this, when I get that, and we live in this very goal orientated society, and it's kind of like, well, hang on a minute, you could actually, what if it was here for you now in your energy field, and then you can be happy, and you can be contented, and you can be present, and you can live in the moment, and you can engage and be passionate and purposeful, which is the other thing about people attaching purpose. They purpose to everything and every person, and that needn't be the case as well. Every moment can be purposeful.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I applaud all of what you've said, and this is absolutely the case. So I've spent nearly 30 years working a lot one-to-one with many people, and as you say, and this is unconscious for most people, or subconscious, which is reinforced by a lot of the society that we live in, and reinforced by our colleagues, our peers, our family, by the media. And it does take a little bit of courage to break through that, but we're all capable of breaking through that, most definitely. And we do spend an inordinate amount of time on autopilot. And some of the research, including from areas like Harvard, show that up to 80% of our time is spent on autopilot. So for 80% of our life, we haven't actually shown up. We're not present, we're not here. So we can change that. But a lot of that time when we're on autopilot is spent with our mind somewhere in the future or somewhere in the past. Because in the past, very often it can be kind of with a sense of redoing and regretting and reliving, and in the future, and in the future, most definitely, kind of that the atavistic part of the brain, the fear-driven center part of the brain, the emotional hijack part of the brain, the amygdala part of the brain, we can be very much controlled by that, and we can step out of that. But also, we can spend a lot of the time with our mind somewhere in the future, and very often it's that striving towards that, if I get this, or if I achieve this, or when this happens, things will change. But the only moment that we have the ability to be in fully is now. The future's never the future's never promised.
It's that millisecond that you said now, it's gone now.
Yeah. So as much as possible. Exactly. So we live as much as possible in this moment. That's the only moment that we are able to be fully in control of that moment. And our control is how we choose to engage in that moment. Now, it's not to say that we can't very much drive forward towards the future with purposefulness, mindfulness, positivity, optimism, all of these things. But the more that we are able to manage how we are right now, the stronger our foundation for how we move into the future. And that's not even including how we can take our energy and project it into the future. And that has an impact as well. And here we're into the realms of quantum mechanics and quantum science and our conscious intent I mean, our conversations, Rana, we know we could go in all sorts of directions for hours on end.
Yeah, and the co-creation.
But conscious intent is a big driver.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll stick to what we were talking about, meditation and mindfulness for this minute.
Yeah, come on then. Come back to the past moment. Yeah. So of course, I mean, obviously, I have, you know, my background is in the medical field as well. So you know, it's funny when I talk to my patients, because I still do some practice. And they'll come in. It's just what actually inspired me to retrain as a coach. I was having a conversation with somebody who was very slim, very active. He'd been a patient for quite a while. So we'd always go off piste, as it were. And, you know, he's very fit, not overweight. And, you know, obviously checking his medical history. Oh, the doctor's put me on some blood pressure tablets. Oh, really? Why is that? Oh, I don't know. So the first thing is, you know, no questioning about why you're on medication, and medication that you could potentially be on for the rest of your life, with no understanding about the cause or how you might do something about it other than medication. And, you know, and that for me, that's a big, you know, it's the same when people just dish out antidepressants, and there could well be no need. So it started off there, and I started talking to him about mindfulness, meditation. He was like, oh, I don't have time to do that. You know, Rana, I do 14-hour days. And I just thought, I need to have the skills to be able to get through to somebody like you before you throw away, you know, you don't have to be stuck in this rut of a 14-hour day. And you can, it's what we call kind of the victim mode. It's the powerlessness that we will often give to someone in the medical profession, for example. They know best. I'm going to give them away. They're all going to look after me. I'll take some pills. I'll be fine. I mean, there is nothing empowered about that decision whatsoever.
Oh, God, no.
So here we have someone doing a 14-hour day, Stuart. In 30 seconds, how are you going to say to them they would benefit from meditation, and how long is it going to take?
Oh, that's easy. So I've worked with CEOs. So that's a response I get a lot. I haven't got time for 2 minutes, let alone 20 minutes of meditation practice. I'll pull up the front page of Time magazine or Fortune magazine, or an article from the FT, from all of these business leaders that say meditation, the secret weapon for business success. I'll pull up information and research around how people who meditate have stronger cognitive skills, how they have greater energy, how they have greater ability to be stronger emotionally intelligent, how emotional intelligence drives profitability. It drives success. I'll speak to my audience. So if that's a CEO, they want to hear about cognitive enhancement, energy, success, how to improve their performance, how to be more able to inspire their teams. And then you can start to talk about, once you've opened their eyes in that way, you can then start to talk about things like risk factors. They'll be aware of, if they're doing 14-hour days, of stress. You can make them more aware of the downside of stress. I mean, stress means that your brain does not function as well. When you are stressed, your brain starts to shrink, literally, and close down. You do not make effective decisions. Stress drives weight gain. Stress depletes the immune system. We could go on and on about what stress does.
Yeah.
So it's linked to 80% of long-term conditions. So if someone's doing a 14-hour day, you can bet your life that there's a level of stress there. And some people try and wear it as a badge of honor. I'm just brilliant because although I'm stressed, I'm still doing. And you just make them aware that actually, no, that's not going to sustain you. It's probably impacting on family life. It's most definitely impacting on your health. It's most definitely impacting on your ability to live a longer, healthier life. It's impacting on your longevity. It's impacting on your happiness. It's impacting on your performance. So you can have those sorts of conversations.
Yeah, and it is about, and I think there is a change, especially with what's gone on in the last year. We really see this shift now in leadership, in understanding that it isn't just a textbook of, if I do, X, Y, Z, that's how I lead my team. And actually the soft skills are actually the superpowers. Yeah. The emotional intelligence, the ability to inspire, the ability to intuit and tap into your intuition in order to help your team achieve flow state. And it's like you said, increase productivity, increase laser focus, increase the ROI, which ultimately is what they're trying to do. So talk to each of them, but also actually recognizing exactly what you said about relationships, that, you know, and the working relationships, the working environment, increase the whole energy of the team so that they're all going up to win-win and everybody wins, rather than I'm just blinkered in my own little field because I'm so stressed. All I can focus on is the tasks I've been given and I can't handle anymore, and people snap. But also, what happens when we go home? You know, how fulfilling are those relationships? Are we going home alone because the stress has led us to end up divorced, or a major split, or we don't see our children, or we don't have those relationships with our children, in which case, why did we have them in the first place? And then the language that we use, I don't have time. I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to eat healthily. But time, and then this will get us onto another conversation, so I'm going to have to get you back. But of course, time is, just listen to the language. When people say, I don't have time, it immediately tells me they're in sort of level energy 1 and 2, because that is their perception and it's what they're telling themselves. And yet the reality is, time is abundant if you choose to view it that way, and you can have time. But of course, how do they just end up with these potentially miserable lives, stuck on the treadmill, or as I call it, the travelator, is not really going anywhere, when actually, you know, you could take a ride in an elevator that could shoot you up 60 stories with a glass frontage, look at this phenomenal view, get this amazing exhilaration, get to the top and just have a moment. It needn't be crazy up there, and enjoy the fruits of your efforts.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we all need to learn to live as positively as possible, for ourselves, for our relationships, for our families, for our colleagues. And actually, the more positive we are, the more people who are living positive, fulfilled, meaningful lives, positively energetic lives, that impacts on the wider society and the community as well.
Yeah, and I want to pick you up on that word, because you said positive, and I would have challenged you about it, because this idea of positive and negative, you know, and actually, you know, is it there are two polarities? Is it a judgment? And it's very, you know, positive mindset. It's not all about telling yourself things. But actually, you said something, you didn't say positive mindset. You said about living positively.
Yeah.
You know, and therefore a sense of being, a way of being and a way of existing, which is very different to just the thought process of positive mindset. It's not just a mindset piece of telling yourself something. It really is a way of being, which is very significant when we're talking about that energy lift.
Oh, it really is. And I mean, when I'm working with people, and this is part of the underpinning around Super Ager World as well. It's, I mean, you go into a bookshop and you'll see millions of books, well, not millions, but a load of books around self-help. And a lot of them will kind of pick up this idea of just think it and it will be so. It's like telling someone, don't worry or stop worrying. That's never going to do it. You need to show them how. And not only do you need to show them how, you need to then support them to make that a reality. There's a big gap between learning something or cognitively knowing it and actually being able to bring it into your life and make it a habit and make it something that has action to it. So people need support in the early days to start to change mindsets, to start to drive behavior change, because this emotional hijack, the ancient part of the brain that is very good at grabbing us and putting us into a stress mode, it is highly successful at grabbing us and taking us out of our positive mindset. So we need to be able to learn awareness. We need to be able to learn when we have been hijacked, when we are in a different mindset, when we're in a less than positive mindset. We need to learn how we can get out of that. The mind is behind everything. The mind is an amazing powerhouse. And you and I, in our conversation, we haven't even touched upon some of the things that we can do with the power of our minds. but we need to learn how to do that. And the first thing is to build our awareness of when we're not aware, to build our ability to harness this power and then to optimize it. And that leads us towards this ability to then live with a more positive state of being. And it's not instantaneous. It doesn't work all the time. In the early days, you might find that 9 times out of 10, you're grabbed by stress, and then it becomes 8 times out of 10, and then 7 times out of 10. And you start to build this as a resource, and you become more resilient.
It's about changing your default, right? It's about changing your default, because we will have stress. We'll have a stress default. Most people will go into victim mode and then get geared into action through frustration. Some people, about 20%, have a different type of default. They immediately go into frustration and the need to control rather than becoming powerless, and they're usually the ones who suffer from burnout very quickly. That was me. But achieve a huge amount. And then, of course, then we have our defaults when everything is going wonderfully well for us. And what we want then is, when things are going well for you, is still not to go into anger or powerlessness and, oh, well, I'll just sit here and let everybody look after me, and try to even avoid going into overthinking things and just accepting. A lot of us just accept, oh, well, it's fine. It's fine, I don't need to change anything. And actually, how much more rewarding and fulfilling life could be if the defaults were higher, states of energy. Started off where you are at your minimum level is a base of service, of wanting to help people, and you elevate from there. And actually, again, if we're bringing back the science, studies have been done on this that show when you are more conscious, when we are in these elevated levels, you were talking about living positively. I talk about living in an elevated state. We do enjoy, if we're back to talking to the CEOs, greater financial success, greater productivity, greater satisfaction with our relationships, with our health and wellness, with our personal lives, with our financial lives, with our career, with our leadership skills, a massive amount. And if we take those headings, I do believe, and Sissy, I'm leading you in beautifully here, I do believe that this is what is involved in being a super ager, because it's not just about health and wellness, being a certain weight, being calm, not being stressed, and when I first started talking with you about super aging, you brought it on beautifully. Health is not just our physical health, emotional, mental, spiritual. It's also our financial. It's our career. It's our sense of satisfaction. It's our fulfillment, and it's all of these things together that create this being who, if you choose to, can still live a wonderfully fulfilled life when you get to 65, 75, 85, and we'll go on to the data that shows, how long we're actually likely to live. So how do we want to live? Do we want to live in a care home where we feel crippled and don't have financial success and can barely walk? Or do we want to live the same life we lived when we were in our 50s, instead of telling ourselves, oh, well, I'm getting old, so.
Yeah. Well, this is exactly it. A lot of what you've just said is part of our underpinning of who and what is a super ager. We chose the name very carefully, and part of our tagline is that we all deserve to be super agers, whatever our age. So I've referenced myself in terms of my age, but super agers are anyone that want to live longer, healthier, happier, to optimize their life, and to reap this longevity dividend, which we can come on to in a second. So the thing is, the more you apply these super ager skills and knowledge, the further you'll go. So it's for the 40 plus, it's for the 30 plus, it's for the 20 plus, because the more you apply these skills and this mindset, the longer you have the ability to live, the longer you have the ability to live with really good physical, mental, and emotional health, success, relationships, all of these sorts of things. So as you touched upon, it's not just about physical, mental, emotional health, although that is clearly a very strong driver. And it's not just about proactive physical, mental, and emotional health. It's also about helping people to minimize risk factors for the so-called diseases of aging, which start kicking in from mid-40s and earlier for women than for men. But it's not just about managing risk factors or managing existing challenges. It's not just about proactively living healthier, longer. It's also about the possibility of this longevity dividend. Now, science is showing us that we have the ability to live longer, and we are living longer already, but we're not living healthier and we're not living happier. So we need to change that. But also, science and research is starting to show us that we can live a lot longer, and the potential is quite amazing, which if you'll allow me, I'll come back to in a minute. Just picking up on the other thing that you said, it's also about not just living longer for the sake of it. It's about that old expression of not just adding years to your life, but life to your years. And that's very much a super ager attitude. So there are key drivers to being a super ager. One of them is proactive health and well-being. One of them is how you use your mind. One of them is attitude. Attitude is a huge component of how we age and age healthily and well. But also lifelong learning is another major component of being a super ager. Learning for the pleasure of it, keeping ourselves stimulated. Social engagement is a huge component of being a super ager. And so we need to be socially engaged as much as possible, which is why we've established this super ager tribe, this global community. Other areas around always seeking to live as fully as possible, but also, as you mentioned, it's about the ability to have financial security and independence as long as possible. Now, the research shows that currently the vast majority of us are not prepared financially for a longer life. And this is currently as we're living. As we're living currently, most of us are not looking for a secure, or not able to see a secure financial future for ourselves in older age. And that is let alone if we start to really reap this dividend of the longevity curve. Now, I interviewed an amazing guy called Aubrey de Grey a couple of years ago. Now, he's the chief science officer for one of the world's leading foundations in aging research. And at the time I asked him, I said, so what's the limit? How far could we go in terms of how long we can live? And he said, well, actually, there is no limit. He said, provide ahead of the curve of what's coming from science and research, there is no limit. And there are quotes on the in research documents that are saying, right, well, potentially the first person to live to 1,000 years is already walking this earth. Now, maybe not everyone will want to live to 1,000 years, but even if we have the potential now, which we do, to live to 120, 130, 140, 150 in good health, why wouldn't we want to do that if we're doing it in good health, in good mental health, physical health, with good security around us? Imagine what the future holds. And so why wouldn't we want to try and reap that dividend? So it's very much for Super Ager World. It's about putting you in the position as quickly as possible to really start reaping that longevity dividend.
So, and also thinking about being 120 to 150, you don't want to do it alone. You think of,
you don't.
I think of my dad, now in his late 70s, and he's like, he goes, he doesn't live in the UK anymore, but whenever he does come home, he's going out less and less because so many of his friends have died now.
Yeah.
So they start to live a lonelier existence, which of course then impacts on your health as well, because this, that social health, social well-being is massive. to help to keep us young and engaged, and help with those cognitive abilities also. Hence, you know, the whole technology with robots and things coming in too, which again is another whole big other subject. But yeah, so it would be kind of nice if your best mate was around with you too.
Well, indeed, it would be great if your best mate's around with you, if you've got a SuperAger community with you. And so just kind of like reinforcing, it's all ages, or we all deserve to be SuperAgers. But if you can have in your 100th year, 110th, 120th, you're still running your annual ski trip, or you're still checking out your favorite restaurants with your friends, but you're also doing it with your great grandchildren or whatever, and you know that they are SuperAgers and they're implementing all of these things that you know that's going to take them further in greater health. And this is something else that we haven't touched upon yet, and it's also about the attitude that you bring to the wider, bigger picture. Now, it's great if we can all live longer, and certainly if we can all live longer in greater health and greater security, absolutely. But what's interesting is that this SuperAger demographic, if you look at the 50 plus, that's the biggest demographic in the world. It's the fastest growing, and it's also the wealthiest. Now, it dominates consumer spending in 119 of the 123 categories of consumer spending. That demographic dominates consumer spending. Now, that means that there's the ability for a very strong SuperAger voice. So we also intend SuperAger World to be the catalyst of a SuperAger voice for bigger, wider benefit and the benefit of the wider society. Because if we can use the strength of that demographic and its wisdom and its experience and its desire for positive change and social impact, which that demographic has, then dare I say, we can also start to help improve the state of this planet and wider society through our SuperAger voice, through consumer power, and we can really start to drive positive change and social impact. So that's another very big part of SuperAger World for us. And yeah, we know it's not for everyone. Some people will want to be part of SuperAger World just to live longer. Some people will want it because of the health benefits. Some people will want it just because of the money saving benefits on all the deals and discounts, which is they're all important and they're all valid drivers. But some people will also maybe want to be part of us creating this SuperAger voice that has the ability to benefit wider society and the planet that is in desperate need of help as well. So that's a bit of the bigger picture as well.
Yeah, and that's when we just elevate to that whole new level of it's not just about me and my immediate surroundings, but actually this is my way of giving back, and then we can get into a whole long discussion about legacy, which of course helps people to engage in that massive sense of purpose, which often keeps them going as well. It's interesting because actually of course in Japan, we have a lot of SuperAgers, don't we? And the research is really interesting. So one of the things is that they never retire, and they engage in a sense of purpose.
Yes.
And they practice or basically maintain a flow state, you know, that sense of well-being. Everybody wins. So, you know, it's not just about them or their immediate people. Which maintains high levels of productivity, focus, practicing mindfulness a lot, if not meditation. So and even just that not retiring kind of means the sense of then they're not looking at the I will be happy when, or I will do this when approach.
Absolutely. It's kind of like that blue zone mind state. And it links to community, it links to attitude, it links to being active. Now, being active is a big driver of longevity, healthy longevity. And as we know, a lot of us are living very sedentary lives, particularly in the West at the minute. And sedentariness is now considered a greater risk to health than being a full-on smoker. So the Japanese, they have a better sense of aging. So there's not an ageist approach to being old. The older ages are greater valued for wisdom, but there's also wrapped within this more active lifestyle, the community, the sense of support, the attitude around all of it. The pretty much health and nutrition are, so those factors are big drivers. It's interesting to see how that community is progressing.
Yeah. Well, they're doing a lot of observation studies there, that's for sure. So give us a few details about what we can find in the Super Ager World app and why everybody should get it, if I do say so myself.
Well, I'm glad that you said that, and we certainly agree with that as well, that everyone should get it. But at this point, the main components of the app and the platform is a wide variety of knowledge content, expert knowledge content, again, all areas of health, well-being, longevity, but also touching upon other things like finance, these sorts of areas. So knowledge content, learning content, so that we can help people to learn skills and knowledge that helps them become more of a super ager. So that can be, for example, nutrition, exercise, activity, yoga, but also lifelong learning. So we have a partnership with one of the world's leading providers of learning courses, so that people can learn just for the pure pleasure of learning. They can learn around skills or reskilling for careers, these sorts of things. So knowledge content, learning content, lifestyle content, because this is also about inspiration. So content that might cover one of the world's leading destination spas, or horse riding, or trekking or walking, or the latest fashion. So all of those sorts of areas around lifestyle content. Then we have a market platform, a Google, an Amazon style platform. And we are at the beginning of all of this. So it is small but growing, but it is a potent small already. So the market platform is goods and services. Again, not just health and well-being, but fashion and tech and leisure and all of these sorts of things. And we also have a partnership with a leading provider of benefits. And that means that we are able to give all of our subscriber members access to thousands of discounts and deals across thousands of brands through the US and the UK that normally are only open to employees of very large companies. But we've managed to get that deal for our members as well. Then we have a directory of experts that are searchable by modality, by their area of expertise and their geographic region. And we are moving into building this new social network, this community, this super ager tribe. So that will be coming through the app as well. So what I've described is already quite a lot, but that's just the beginning, and we're just scratching the surface. There is more coming as we start to build the next phases. But pretty much what we've done at this stage is create a good, strong platform of a one-stop shop of resources that can help to empower and inspire positive, proactive life, longevity, healthy aging. So it's pretty much a health, longevity, and lifestyle platform, and bringing all of those resources and inspirations into one place.
Yeah, and I think it's important to say that, because it's not just, an app where you can learn and practice mindfulness or meditation, or an app for exercise, or an app for finance. It's the whole holistic effect of what creates healthy aging, and where you can feel the same way when you're 40 as you did when you were 30, and when and when you're 50 as you did. And I think it's really important to say, because I can have patients who walk in and they're 35 years old, and I have to take a second look because I think they look like they're in their 60s, and I have other people who are in their 70s, and I would never have imagined it. They look like they're about 40.
Yeah.
And it's always, what's the secret? And actually, so often, just going back to stress, when we delve into their negative life events, it's so often it's how they've dealt with things, what their mindset is like, how defeatist they might be, what the negative life events that have happened in their life, and then we add on then the habits, like did they smoke, how healthily do they eat, how much do they drink, how sedentary are they, etc., etc. So, and of course, so that whole thing, even the nutritional side, which we haven't even touched on, obviously that's all there. And then the hope ultimately, of course, is to run, once we establish this amazing Super Ager community. And I think that community piece is really important, actually, because it's a lot of trying to make behavior changes about accountability. So if you have that community, it gets you going, right?
Oh, it really does. So there's so many benefits to a Super Ager community, not just in terms of health and well-being and the social component. I mean, and they all underpin a longer, healthier, happier life. So they're all mutually supportive. So we really want to build this community. And so this isn't just an online platform. As we move out of COVID and as we move around the world, there will be events that are real life events, and there'll be community events, there'll be social events, there'll be all sorts of things that will drive. There'll be special interest groups. So there'll be the Super Ager skydivers and the skiers, and the Super Ager art group, the Super Agers in Manhattan, the Super Agers in London, and so we'll be building that sort of community as well, because it is an immensely important driver of healthy, proactive, happy longevity, but also touching upon the bigger picture and the ability of this Super Ager tribe, this global Super Ager tribe, to drive a wider benefit as well.
Yeah. So workshops, retreats, based on experiences, based on information, learning, teaching, progressing, growing, and being.
Indeed. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
you've got a challenge. We've got a challenge going on, right?
Not so much a challenge at the minute. There will be plenty of challenges, most definitely. But we've got a kind of combination of a competition and a special offer that's going on, because obviously we want people to know about Super Ager World, but we also want to start hearing from them in terms of what they would like from Super Ager World and what they maybe would like to be saying as part of a Super Ager voice, and remembering it's for all ages. But what we've done is we've got a special offer that we put together with a rather special prize as well. So we've mentioned a little bit about a subscriber level member. So normally people who are the subscriber levels get access to a bigger chunk of the deals and the discounts and various other things. I would say that 90% of the app content is free to access and will always be that way as we build the content. But we do also have a subscriber level that gets access to all of these deals and every brand partner that we bring onto the site. And that happens every week. We've got new brand partners, and every expert that provides a service, we seek to bring a discount that is open to our subscriber members. So normally that subscriber level would be around $60 a year. But what we want to do, particularly right now in times of COVID, where we know that people are challenged in all sorts of ways, and even when lockdown finishes in various countries, it doesn't mean that the challenge goes away, because there are a lot of people facing financial difficulty on the back of the last year. So we really want to see if we can help in all sorts of ways. So what we've done is we've created this opportunity. So for every single person that downloads the app, and the app is free to download. Every single person that downloads the app, they get the app free but we're also going to enter them into a competition to win one of 5 free lifetime memberships at subscriber level to Super Ager World, but also to be put into a draw with a chance of winning a £10,000 prize, or whatever the dollar equivalent is, about $12,500. But also to ensure that we help as many people as possible to access these financial benefits. And they're pretty strong benefits. It's been worked out that an average family will save around about $3,000 to $4,000 a year using all of these deals. So we've also created the opportunity for every single person that wants to pay 99 pence or $1.25, they'll get full subscriber level access for a whole year for just that small amount of money. And they get access into the draw to win one of the 5 lifetime memberships, and the £10,000 prize as well. So we think that that's a pretty good way for us to help as many people as possible.
That's huge. So how do people get entered? Will they automatically, if they've downloaded the app, you'll end up with their email addresses and know that they've downloaded, so they'll be entered into the prize draw?
Well, that was the original plan, but if people sign up using an Apple ID, then we don't get their email address. And obviously we want to stay in contact with people and tell them what's coming. And if they've won, we want to be able to tell them that they've won. So what we're saying to people is go onto the app stores for Super Ager World, download the free app, register, and it's just literally a case of just either registering with your email or registering via Google or Apple or whatever. But once you've done that, email us on info@SuperAger World and give us your name, and that way we know that you're definitely in the draw. But pretty much it's just as simple as either going onto our website and following the link to the apps and the website superagerworld.com, or going straight to the app store, downloading the free app, registering, and either registering by email, in which case we've got your details, or if you're registering automatically via Apple, then email us independently and just say, this is my name, I've just entered into the draw. And then that way they're all in the draw. But if they want to then take advantage of the 99 pence or the $1.25 subscriber level access, then they just need to follow one extra level to register for subscriber, to pay that 99 pence, and then they're in to that level for the next year, as well as the draw for the prizes as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, what an amazing opportunity it really is. And I mean, this app, like I said, I would still say it, the best, most holistic, a wellness app you could imagine, because it is its lifestyle and its choice and its consciousness and its growth and its opportunity and everything that comes with it, which is fantastic. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you for sharing your story with us today, your inspiration. Actually, we only touched on a tiny bit of it. Otherwise, we would have probably been talking for 2 hours just about that, because I know about so much of the stuff you've done, but also what has inspired this. And let's get this movement going. Be a super ager.
Absolutely. We're all super agers at heart.
We are indeed. So, any final words?
No, I think that we've covered it for now, but I really thank you for this opportunity. We look forward to all of your listeners joining us on the Super Ager journey and helping them create that Super Ager life for themselves. Absolutely. So thank you very much.
Oh, absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. So I hope you enjoyed yet another episode. Be a super ager. I think that's going to be my mantra for the next couple of weeks. So please do go to that website, www.superagerworld.com. And then you've got the links to the apps there, or just find them on your phone. So that's all we have time for today. I'm Dr. Rana Al-Falaki. My 3 favorite words for you: be free, be fun, be fearless. Bye-bye for now. Feel on top of the world with Light Changes Coaching. Do you feel like burying your head in the sand, hoping it will all be fine when you come out? Do you know what you want, but no idea how to get it? Are you stuck on the treadmill, repeating the same old patterns, wishing the answers would just be there for you? How great would it feel to have those answers right there in the palm of your hand? Well, did you know that there is a way to get immediate answers, fast resolution of inner problems, and quick access to a higher state of awareness? After 20 years of helping people, I have perfected a special technique that allows you to tap into your intuition. Connect with your intuition in just 5 minutes a day using this special technique, Dr. Rana's gift technique, the guided intuition and fulfillment training, and you can have those light bulb moments every day. So get what you want, a job that gets you excited when you get up in the morning, a relationship where you can look across the table and think how much you love that person, a body that you're proud to have and look in the mirror and absolutely love, a bank balance that you're not afraid to look at. My gift to you is simple, quick technique to access your intuition and give you the instant answers you need to get unstuck without having to do lengthy meditations. So head on over right now to lightchangescoaching.com and download yours.